Okay, so on Sunday, hi, Erin Zenwari here. On Sunday, I had a chat with two other presenters at the exercise conference. And one of the things that we spoke about was the law of attraction. And I was dealing with someone who's very scientifically minded. And I say this because I think we have varying interpretations of what that actually means. This is someone I would consider to be very discerning and someone to be very distrusting in general. And they're only going to believe something where 1 + 1 = 2. I would argue the way I live does do that. And when you're dealing with something like law of attraction and you're trying to teach people to be aware of the narrative that's actually playing out in their head, in the way that they behave, etc., and how that narrative becomes what is reflected back into them in the world, and that's something that you teach, you can get pretty playful with the idea. Now, a couple of years ago when I moved here to Auckland, I was with a friend and they were telling me, and it was like an avocado shortage, and they were telling me how they'd been given avocados during this avocado shortage season. And I was like, oh my God, how did you do that? And it was a time when there should have been avocados around. I think there'd been too much rain, etc. It might have been because of the flooding, actually, that like the avocados had been damaged. Anyway, they'd been given avocados. And I was like, that's fucking cool. I want avocados. And I was playing with the law of attraction. I was like, okay, what would it feel like if someone gave me avocados? And I was like, imagine how cool that would be, how excited I would be. I'm not invested. I don't need someone to give me avocados. See, the thing about when you want something, if you really want it, if you're really invested in it, you actually create a lot of density around the thing. And so in this particular situation, I actually kind of didn't care. But I was like, it's kind of the perfect thing to play with. I don't care if I get avocados, but how good would it feel if I did? And I just sat kind of in a little vibe feeling into that avocado moment. Anyway, I'm out flyering the next day for my business. And I flyer a guy in one of the houses sort of up the street from Eden Park here. And this guy goes, oh, wait a minute, like this. And he goes, here, have some avocados. And he gave me avocados. And I had to laugh because it was within 24 hours. It was in less than 24 hours. It was like 12 hours of me wanting to be given, given avocados, that I got given avocados. Now, this guy I was talking to on Sunday, the one that was very hard line about the way he views science, who very much, he's like, well, the problem with law of attraction is you can't test it. And I'm like, yeah, granted you can't. Because he's like, well, can you replicate the avocado thing? What if it was just coincidence that you got given avocados? And I'm like, I totally understand what you're saying. And you see, the problem is, now that you want to test, can I manifest avocados by simply sitting and feeling into it? I might be able to, but the problem is, now that I really want it because I want to prove something, I'm more invested in the outcome and I'm going to create more density around it. And so at the time I said to him, there's a punchline coming here. I said, well, no, you can't really test it. But I'd retold this story. Now, see, the thing about retelling a story is that you relive the feeling. Even if it's not as potent, you still get to relive the feeling. Anyway, I just taught a client how to cook, and they wanted to do what anyone coming into your home learning how to cook would want to do, and they wanted to bring me a gift. And so now I have avocados. And it's within a couple of days, basically, of having this conversation with someone. For the second time, I have randomly been given avocados. Now, I will say, I do have a friend who frequently brings me avocados, actually. And I'd forgotten about this when this person said to me, oh, can you make it happen again? I'm like, actually, I have someone who regularly brings me avocados. But this little event here is completely random, has never happened through this person before. Yes, I have a friend who brings me avocados because he knows that I live off them. And when he's buying his ones, he brings me some. But this is totally random and within a couple of days of having that conversation. And I thought that was pretty funny. And I will be sending it to the two guys that I was conversing with the other day because there is a bag of random avocados, which I was not expecting, had never asked for, and am just chuckling over now. So the moral of this story is be careful the stories you tell, because we often don't tell the story about how some random guy gave us avocados the day after we decided we wanted some random person to give us avocados. That's not usually the story we tell. We tell the story about how they always leave us. We tell the story about how the car broke down. We tell the story about how we got fired from a job, or we always end up being scapegoated from a job, or we tell these stories. And when we tell these stories, we relive them, and we relive the vibration. And whether or not that amounts to anything physical in 3D, the reality is it amounts to something physical within us. And we are reliving the story over and over again. And people are like, well, what about when I realize something in my life and I feel the need to have someone hold space for that story? Totally have someone hold space for your story. But how many times are you going to tell that story until you've lived it enough? Until you've had someone hold space for it? And there's a difference between emotionally telling a story and telling a story like, yeah, it's a fact, it just happened, and there's no emotion in it anymore, it's been done, And some stories take a really long time. I have some stories in my life, it takes a lot for me to retell the story without the anger in it, or without the sadness in it, or without the whatever it is in it. Certainly stories over my dad. This is not a big deal anymore, right? It doesn't relive the moment for me. But fuck, it used to. And it used to make my life hell. So I think it's very important that you have people hold space for some of your stories. I think it's also important to consider, are you also telling the good stories, the really good stories? Are you remembering to tell those? Are you remembering to relive those? Because I tell you what, I love to tell the story about how the guy who had diabetes for 35 years got kicked out of the doctor's office when he did not have it anymore, and we cured it naturally. I love to tell the story about how my friends turned up from another country and I got to see them for the first time in years. I love to tell the story about my cat, whatever the fuck he was doing, because he's so fucking cool. Don't forget to tell the joyous ones, because those, you want that frequency in your life all the time. And if it really can attract more of the same, tell that. Tell the story about how great that guy was in the way that he was great, or how great that woman was in the way that they were great, because those things you want in your life. And I bet you your life starts feeling better and better and better all the time. But by all means, yes, have someone hold space for your story, because sometimes that's necessary. There's a woman that I love to listen to, and she says 3 times. Let it be heard 3 times, and then let it go. And that doesn't mean you don't feel sad, and that doesn't mean that it doesn't still come up in your head, and it doesn't mean that you don't still resonate with it sometimes. But when you put words to things, they have power. And today, my power is fucking avocados. And I wish I had said yes to that guy. I could replicate it, but I will be sending him this video later. Thank you so much for listening. Nice to see you there, Jace. I also see some others there, but I can't actually see who's in the room. If you have any questions about law of attraction and why you're not getting something in your life, reach out to me. I bet you we can pick it apart. I, for a long time, told myself that money doesn't grow on trees, and I fucking struggled. Now I do not think about it. Does that mean I'm the richest person in the world? Still working on it. But also in a free, easy, unconcerned, unpanicked way, And when the panic comes up because the car breaks down fucking wherever it is in the world, and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, I breathe out. I note that I'm going to panic, because we're all going to panic at first. And then everything is always working out for me. And in 6 months' time, this isn't going to matter so much, Anyway, have a great day. Love to hear your stories. Please feel free to share the great ones below, and even the shitty ones where you fucked it up and you attracted shit back into your life. I did that with many different relationships, but also mainly it was me. you know, there was a lot of good things there that I love to talk about now, and I like to tell those stories too. Have a great day. Erin signing out.